Hey, this is Bill Mosley. I play Otis in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and Chop Top and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. Don't touch that dial or I will lick your plate. Oh, no.
Welcome back to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm still Nasty Neil.
And I remain Terrible Troy.
Mm-hmm. And we're joined by the returning Bill Oberst Jr. I think he was on here last year, maybe the year before, but it wasn't that long ago. But it's a pleasure to have you back.
I want to know if there's any actual decapitation that's ever... How did you get the name, the Station of Decapitation?
Well, it started as Without Your Head. It was actually a playoff... if you really want to hear the whole story...
I do. I'm actually... Yeah. How did it become Without Your Head? Where did that come from?
So in 2005, I still do the show. I did a pro wrestling podcast called In Your Head, and then in October we did. It was just gonna be a one-time special because we're also horror movie fans, and we're trying to think of a name, and we just say, well, Without Your Head. It would be the Without, and then we enjoyed it, and we started doing the show, and then later on I added a Station of Decapitation just because I thought it sounded cool.
Do you still do pro wrestling?
Yeah, I do that on Tuesdays, and we do the horror show here on Thursday nights.
You know, there used to be, when I was a kid, because I'm old, but my pro wrestling guys had a lot of personality, you know?
Yeah,
and some of them, yeah, definitely. I mean, we used to have, we had wrestling on Saturday nights right before Hee Haw, where I grew up. And it was the wrestling where the guys there'd be the one stoic announcer in the middle, and the others would just, there'd be one wrestler on each side, the enemies, and they'd grab the mic from him and tell what they were going to do.
Yep.
I really miss that. I mean, I like the theatricality and all. It's cool. But I really like the simplicity of the good guy and the bad guy. And you know what I'm going to do to you?
It was like a morality play in a ring with weird It's kind of this. It's hard to explain to someone who doesn't like wrestling why you would like it, but it's really its own form of entertainment.
It's totally a morality play, and it's like horror movies are. Particularly this one that I'm in coming out, Death House, is coming out next month. It's fun. It's funny in places. And it's totally a morality tale. I think horror, when it's done well, like wrestling, can be really cathartic.
I agree 100%. And Death House, which we've been talking about for a while, because it's just loaded with people. People everyone knows, horror icons and people all from all different horror films. How did you get involved in it? How early on was it?
My agent, Mike Eisenstadt of Amsel Eisenstadt, Fraser, and Inahosa, is a mouthful. They're my representation in Los Angeles, and Mike's a producer on the movie. And he called me, and he said, this is going to be like the Expendables of horror. And I said, you don't have to say anything else. If you'll have me, I'll be in it. So I was in a scene with Sean Whalen from People Under the Stairs, who I know you've had on the show recently.
Yeah, it's
Barbara Crampton, who has probably the best female scream I've ever heard. Oh my God, the lady's got lungs. Kane Hodder, who's a really sweet guy and a very, very funny guy. So, and Debbie Rochon, who's wonderful, who I've worked with before. So I think the movie is going to be fun to watch. And for me, for horror, that's the main thing. There's got to be some element of fun. It doesn't have to be overtly funny, but it's got to be fun,
Yeah, enjoy yourself. You don't want to go out, come out of the movie just feeling really bad. So it's good to have a good time.
Absolutely.
Did you know Gunnar Hansen at all? Because I know it was originally his idea.
I met him once in Germany at Weekend of Horrors, which is Europe's big horror convention, and that's the only time that I met Gunnar. He was the sweetest man in the world. That's the thing with these horror people. Like, most of them are really, really sweet people. A makeup artist told me once, she said, the ugly guys and the guys who play ugly guys are the nicest people in the world. It's the pretty boys who are always the assholes.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oddly
man.
enough, I heard the same thing about wrestling.
About wrestling? Oh,
I've heard
funny.
the same thing about wrestling. Yeah, about the bad guys are usually the nicest people in real life, and vice versa.
Well, Roddy Piper, who just before he died, I did the film The Chair. Sweetest man in the world. So quiet, so soft spoken.
Yeah, that's my favorite wrestler growing up, and I was so happy to like do panels and stuff with him at the horror conventions, and he couldn't be a nicer guy.
I'll tell you one thing too. He was a damn good actor. This was a death row prison movie with some horror thrown in, and I was the prison warden, and he was one of the guards. He was a really, really good dramatic actor.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Oh yeah, I loved him in They Live.
Oh yeah. So, for Death House, you mentioned the people that you did your scenes with. Were you aware of everything else that happened in the movie? Have you seen the finished movie?
I haven't seen the finished movie. No, I read the script, of course, and I'm going to be in New York for the premiere in New York City on Friday, February 23rd at Regal Ewoks. If you got listeners up that way, I know you boys are in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
We'd love to have folks come over. Yeah,
that'd be sweet. That's got to be a good feeling too, because I know that a lot of fans online have been, helping get the word out and trying to get a wider release for the movie.
Yeah, definitely, because horror gets a short shrift. But there's so many fans all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Camille, I also work with Camille from Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah.
And she's going to be at the red carpet in New York, too. She's, again, a really, really, really sweet lady.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I believe she's going to be on next week. In the coming weeks, anyway. So I'm looking forward to that. What was Harrison Smith like to work with, the director?
A dream, because he loves the genre. And when you get a director that really, really likes horror, my best other big time and experience with this was on Criminal Minds, when the guy who directed the episodes I was in was Matthew Gray Gubler, and he's a regular on the show as Dr. Reed, but he's a huge horror fan in real life. So this episode that he had me in as a recurring character, I was a backwoods killer, a product of incest between Adrienne Barbeau and Tobin Bell, who were my mom and dad.
Oh, that's going to be awesome right there.
And my makeup was done by the guy who did makeup for all of the Tarantino films, all the Kill Bills, and who actually played the groom in Kill Bill. So he's also a Lon Chaney fan. So we wanted to make the character a Lon Chaney homage. So the whole thing, we were surrounded. Oh, and I did scenes with Adrienne Barbeau, who of course has a great horror pedigree. So we were all surrounded by people who really love the genre, and that's the way it was on Death House too.
Oh, that's just tremendous.
Yeah, I know everyone I know is really looking forward to the movie. And I also understand Hell's Kitty is opening this around the same time.
Oh yeah. Horror really is undergoing a resurgence now, and there's been a lot of articles in Hollywood Reporter and lots of big papers about it. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm. Last year was a great year for horror. With It doing so well, and Get Out, and Split, and a lot of great independent movies that came out.
Well,
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water is fantastic. Doug is again, a really, really sweet guy. There's a movie I'm in with Doug called Hell's Kitty. It was a web series, and I was in it with Doug Jones, and we both played priests who were trying to exorcise a cat. And so all the episodes have been put together and turned into a feature. It's coming out next month. I think there's a premiere in LA for it. Adrienne Barbeau is in it too. Yeah. But working with Doug was fantastic because he's so nice. He hugs you. He hugs everybody. Everybody who he sees, he hugs. But he's so big, he's such a big galoot that when he hugs you, he's likely to just like pick you up off the floor. So
yeah,
I'm not much of a hugger. I'm more like a handshake guy. And I was like, "Oh, hello, how are you? Pleased to meet you." I said, "Come here." Next thing I know, I've been lifted off the floor like a 12-year-old.
I won't spoil Hell's Kitty because I have seen the web series. But when you guys are playing the priest, as you mentioned, there's some great dialogue that made me laugh quite a bit about the love of books and then the love of pets. And I won't give away the line.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Okay, good. Doug is he's so deadpan. I like buddy comedies in general, and I wish horror had more of that. When I was doing that with Doug, I thought, well, I'd like these buddy priests to have their own little movie.
Oh yeah,
that would totally work. I could totally see that.
Like bumbling exorcist priest,
Think we have a new movie here in the works.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea. So how did you even get involved in Hell's Kitty?
How did I get involved in Hell's Kitty? That one I had to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Adrienne Barbeau, because I had done Criminal Minds with Adrienne. And so she told me that there was this web series that everybody was doing. It was horror, and it was about a cat who was possessed, and that all the proceeds were going to animal charities. And I was like, oh my God, I really want to do that. So my manager got me in, and luckily, they wanted me to work with Doug.
Yeah,
so I think I remember being on the stairs with Doug and the neighbor. Yeah, the guy who played the neighbor, who was really, really good. He had a line that cracked me up, and that was he was sipping coffee, and he said, "The power of Christ compels me." And then he lifted up the coffee cup into the frame and said, "To drink coffee."
I love it. So,
yeah.
When did you hear that it was going to, when they were putting it together to become a feature?
A couple of months ago. And then today, Nicholas Tana, the creator and director, who actually owned the cat, who passed away. So this will be a great way to remember his cat. He sent me an email telling me that there's going to be this, event in Los Angeles for it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I watched I watched the web series and I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they put it together for the feature. I've
always wanted to play priest battling evil. It's just a thing. I've always wanted to do that. And I actually prayed about it, like, oh Lord, please give me this opportunity. I really want to do this. And then it shows you that God has a sense of humor, because they were like, yeah, you're going to be playing a priest and he's exercising a cat.
And even though it's a comedy, you don't see too often anymore in movies like a positive portrayal of a priest where they're actually fighting evil. Usually, if a priest is in a movie, they're automatically going to be some kind of pervert or really Satanist or something.
Yeah, it's like clowns, I have played a necrophiliac clown in Circus of the Dead, but it's a little cliche.
Yeah, I agree 100%. No matter what like your beliefs are, I think it's almost it's kind of easy. I think it's kind of cheap to go with the evil priest.
I think so too. I've known a lot of priests and a lot of preachers, and they're really flawed people. But the majority of them are doing something where they're not going to make a lot of money, and they catch hell all the time from all sides, except the TV ones. The TV ones, they're sons of bitches.
Right.
If you're sitting up on a gold throne on television, and you're talking about God, give me a break, man. I'm not sending you money. I'm not sending you shit. You're on a gold throne.
Very well said. So, can you tell us any about your character in Death House?
Yes. There's three guys, and all of whom claim to be Satan. I think one of them says he's the son of Satan. One of them says he created Satan. I forget what Sean is. We were all like me and Sean and the other actor's name escapes me, and we're all in a viewing room together, and we're having an argument about who actually is the real Satan. And it was really funny dialogue, while Barbara Crampton looks on.
That's pretty cool. Speaking of, it's nice to see that people like Barbara Crampton and a lot of people have made like really good comebacks in the last few years. It's not necessarily just used to be in horror movies, it would always just be like people in their 20s or 30s, but now it's like a lot of veteran actors are coming back in film, and I think that's good to see.
Oh, totally. And Dee Wallace has done a lot of stuff lately.
Yeah, exactly. That's another one. Yeah, Red Christmas.
I got
awesome. If you saw that.
Oh yeah. She was great. I got a project coming up with her called Dead Afterlife later on this year, and I'll tell you how sweet Dee is. When I first came to LA, I was at a party. Somebody invited me, and she was going to be there, and I was so excited, and so I hadn't got a chance to talk to her because there was people around. And finally, at the end of the party, she came over and she said, "Is your name Bill?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "Are you driving a white truck?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You're blocking me in." I was like, "Oh my God, I blocked you all in. That is so awesome." That was my claim to fame. Besides seeing Tim Curry in the grocery store, he was in the produce section at Ralph's. And right there in Hollywood, where my apartment is, he's, unbeknownst to me, he lives like 4 blocks back. And this is just before he had his stroke, about 2008. And I saw this guy. I was like, wow, it looks like Tim Curry. He's got a hangdog face. He's just shopping for cucumbers or whatever. And I said, "Excuse me, are you Tim Curry?" He turns around and gives me like this movie star smile and says, "Yeah."
It was a former evil clown meeting a future evil clown.
Oh, absolutely. I asked him, I said, "Do you have any advice?" And he said, "Did they ask you to come to Hollywood?" I said, "No one asked me to come." He said, "Oh, you poor thing." He said one should never come to Hollywood unless one is asked to come. They asked me to come, I said, "Yeah, I know."
That's pretty awesome. That's cool that he was nice to you, though.
Oh, it's completely nice, and I get the idea that he's nice to everybody. The big people that I work with, Jim Carrey, Hugh Jackman, Tim Curry, all of them were unbelievably nice. I guess that's why they're stars.
Yeah, and why people would want to continue to work with them.
Oh, totally. Jim Carrey's walking around set, extending his hand, saying, "Hi, I'm Jim." Like, we don't know. And that gives you the opportunity to then say, "Hey, I'm Neil," and you get to meet him on an equal basis. So different from the bitches, male and female, who think that they're important. The mid-level actors who are always pulling attitude. I'm like, oh, please. If Hugh Jackman can not be a dick, you could do the same thing.
Right. If Logan's cool, anybody can be cool.
Oh, Logan, you wouldn't believe how cool Logan is. I was playing his boss in a Japanese car commercial, and we did a 2-shot with us talking, and then we did the turnaround over my shoulder on him, and then they're getting ready to turn around on me. And they said, "Hugh, you go back to your trailer. We can use somebody else's shoulder for this." He said, "No, I want to stand here and feed Bill lines." And I was like, "You really don't have to do that. You can go back to your trailer." And he said, if the situation was reversed, mate, I'd expect you to do this for me. We're in the same business." I was like, oh my God, this is why you're Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's totally awesome.
Can you tell us anything about Age of the Living Dead? Because I love the graphics of everything.
Yes.
Like anything I've heard about it.
It's a really, really cool series. A nice take on the vampire legend. I play the chairman of the board of the vampires. It's really great because I get to tell like the vampire lore. I'm telling the other members, how we came to be and the history, the ancient history. And I'm sitting completely still And the director kept saying, be quiet or be stiller, be stiller. And it created this sort of hypnotic effect. And I thought, oh man, this is too still. But it's running now in Asia on Fox. And the director wrote me, and he said, people really love your character. It's so creepy. I was like, well, that's because of you. So I'm hoping that it's going to get picked up and run over here. It's really nice. It's apocalyptic. It's action. It's glossy. It's a really nice project.
Yeah. As soon as I remember you posting about it one day on Facebook, and I was like, wow, it looks really. I thought you looked perfect in the role, and just everything about it. I thought, wow, this looks like something I'd be really into.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and I think now with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, there's a lot of and of course cable itself. There's a lot of opportunity out there for series to get picked up.
Yeah, there is definitely. These vampires are sort of akin to 30 Days of Night, which is my favorite modern take on vampires.
I would agree.
Yeah, I love that one too.
Because they were
really dangerous
in it. Yeah.
They're really dangerous. I like vampires that are quiet. In fact, I kind of really just like monsters who are quiet until the moment comes when they attack, and then it's just a frenzy.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
That's scarier than all the lurking and telegraphing what's going to happen. It's like it's like being married, and you don't know whether you're going to get a kiss or a slap.
When I mentioned Hulu and Netflix and all these things and video on demand, how important is that for people who are making independent movies?
Oh, absolutely. Now, you don't make the money you used to make because Amazon pays like pennies per stream. If it's horror, people will steal it, especially if there's girls in it and they think the girls might be unclothed in parts of it. They're going to steal it. But for most producers of independent horror, what they want is eyes on their project. And I've even talked to guys who are like, I'm like, dude, 500,000 people stole your movie. They were like, that's great. As long as 500,000 people are watching it, they're happy.
Yeah.
So
what you said, go on. I was going to say something after that.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I was just say it was interesting when you said, though, you don't make the money you used to. I do think there's a difference in people's attitude depending on their age, because I've talked to like Tony Todd, who said people told him like you must be like proud that it was his movie a few years ago, Sushi Girl, was the most pirated film of that year, and he's like, well, no, I'm not proud. I produced it. I put my money into it, and I do just from talking to people, I see a difference depending how old or how long someone's been in the industry. I guess would be a better term than age. If you were around like when you VHS stores or Blockbuster, as opposed to if you're a younger person who's just in the industry and that's all you're just happy someone would see it.
Yeah, I agree. That's absolutely right, because you don't know that you could actually make your money back on the movie, and then your wife would talk to you again. Because I know a lot of guys who have like, honey, we're going to, and they get their wife to let them, mortgage the house or take all the savings. And then what you're talking about happens. People are watching the movie when nobody's paying for it, and she's like, you said this would make money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I always try to get them on their first movie before the wife says no more. Before she closes those purse strings. If it's your first movie, let's talk.
That's good advice for
But horror has a really high rate on and return on investment because it's good internationally, because you really don't need much dialogue. It translates well into all of the languages.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I never really thought of that. That's
where you make your money. You don't make money domestically on horror, but you can make money internationally. You can sell territories overseas. And people get little niches, like apparently I'm big in Belarus. When I did the Weekend of Horror convention over in Germany, I had a lot of people from Eastern Europe come up and say, the bill. Everyone knows the bill. I was like, wow, I didn't know everybody knew the bill.
That's pretty awesome. I'm going to write that
Romania,
down.
yeah. But it's not because they paid for the movies. It's because everybody there pirated Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies that year, and so they really liked it.
Oh, okay. I was just saying next time, I'm writing it down because next time we have you on, I'm going to introduce you as the man that's very big in Belarus. Bill
He's
Oberst.
big in Belarus. It's true, though. European horror fans, particularly Eastern Europe, it's a big market, and if they like you, they really support you. I get a lot of fan mail from Eastern Europe.
Yeah, we have a lot.
I'm weird and ugly, and they Europeans take more to that than Americans. Americans always talking about, oh, you're not pretty, and Europeans are like, yeah, that's the point. He's weird. He's got a weird face. It's very cinematic.
I would say interesting. I think I think if everyone's beautiful in the movie, it's kind of like no one necessarily stands out. But if someone has something that captures you, they're interesting. Kind of like you were starting to bring it all around to wrestling. Is if someone's a character and stands out to you, to me that they're more memorable.
Yeah, I fully agree. I've hated my face, my acne scars, and my accident scars, and I've hated it for years and years and years. But actually, since I started doing film, I've come to embrace it because it gets me work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, we did talk about that in the last interview. If people want to hear that more in depth, I thought it was really interesting. It's of course up on the website. So, have you been to Asia since Age of the Living Dead's been out there? Do you know how they would take to you? Maybe you'd be big in Asia as well.
I really, really would like that. I just did a Chinese action film that's mostly Chinese cast, with a couple of Americans in it. The money was out of China. All the money's out of China now, and I hope that it does well. And I played a drug kingpin, but the thing that made me think, hey, I might do well over there, is because they like their characterizations big and over the top and highly dramatic, and I can do that. I'm not the greatest actor in the world, but I can create a little drama on screen, and they like that. They're not so nuanced that there's nothing left. If it's a bad guy, they like him to be bad.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So February 23rd, I believe both Death House and Hell's Kitty will be premiering at different areas. So if you're in New York, if you're in LA, you can go see one or the other. And Death House is having a run theatrically at select theaters. So I'm hopefully there'll be one in Boston, but I'm not sure yet. But I know you can check the website, and I think hopefully they'll be adding some more. Absolutely.
While I'm in New York, I'm going to be meeting with some potential investors for a project I'm really excited about. It's a stage project, a solo portrayal of Ray Bradbury.
Oh, really? Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Much kind of in the same manner that Hal Holbrook portrayed Mark Twain years and years ago.
Mm-hmm. That's
awesome. Portraying Bradbury, some of his stories, some of his philosophy. And yeah, I've put it together with the approval of his family and his estate. And we're ready to start looking for investors to get it off Broadway. I've wanted to play Bradbury for years, and I'm really excited about it.
What is it about Bradbury that drew you to him?
Bradbury has this weird mix, right? He's extremely optimistic and joyful about being alive and the gift of life. But he's not a Pollyanna, because he realizes that human beings are mostly shit, right? But like he says, we've got to go out into space to continue the human race, because we're going to destroy this planet. We're going to do it. We're on the way to doing it now. Mm-hmm. We've got to go out into space. But out in space, we're going to take with us all our pettiness, all our jealousy, all our ugliness. But we're also going to take with us all of our optimism, all of our love, all of our potential. He's very, very realistic and optimistic at the same time. And I've always loved that mixture. I don't like the Pollyannas. Oh, everything's great and people are wonderful and up with people. But I also don't like the we're never going to make it, whoever that smirk was.
Right.
The Smurf that was never going to make it. Yeah, we're all doomed.
Schlep rock.
So that's what I love about Bradbury. I think he's got something to say right now. He's got something to say to us. The story that I open with in this script is The Sound of Thunder, which is about a man who goes back in time, steps on a butterfly, comes back, and the wrong person has been elected president, and America's screwed. So that's the story I open with.
Yeah.
That's
That must be where the butterfly effect term came from.
That's where it came from. Bradbury made it up.
I did not know that. That's really
He was
interesting.
like 26 years old when he wrote these amazing, amazing stories. That's another thing that blows my mind. And if your listeners are creative in any way, guys, girls, remember everything that we think, oh, this has been around forever and ever and ever. From Disney World to science fiction stories, to movies, characters. At one time, it was just somebody who said, hey, I got an idea.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. I know Troy and I saw a play about, it was like a one-man play about Edgar Allan Poe with, oh my God, the guy from Reanimator. It's one of my,
Oh my God.
I forget the guy's name. I love the actor.
Combs.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs. So you can see it,
Oh yeah. He did a great Poe.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely, yes. And also that's kind of the same idea that I'm trying to get across here is that horror doesn't have to be, just sort of crude slash 'em up.
Mm-hmm.
There can also be an eloquence and a power of language behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, Bradbury did some great horror stuff too.
Yes, he did. He wrote some really terrifying stuff.
Oh yeah.
And his description of, for instance, there's just one sentence in The Sound of Thunder. He's talking about the jungle when they get off the time machine. He said the jungle was high and the jungle was low and the jungle was broad and the jungle was the whole world forever and forever. Those kind of sentences really, really get it for me, especially when you are constantly reading scripts where, people talk like they're in the 5th grade.
Very well said.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, what should we do? Do you really think these woods are haunted? Like, the exposition is just it's too much. Nobody says that stuff. Hey, honey, remember when we got married? Well, of course she remembers. I read one. I read one just this week. There was I don't know. It was 2 chicks, and they were talking about something, and one of them said, "Yes, but I'm out of college now." It's like, okay, your friend doesn't know you're out of college? That's like saying, "Oh, it's so hot," before you take off your top and get into the water. Just take off your top. Your friend knows it's hot. You don't have to say anything, especially.
And the audience isn't that dumb that they can't figure something out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
But I want to thank you for coming.
Because that just sounds tremendous. So I'd love to see that.
I thank you for your encouragement because some people have mentioned it too. Like nobody wants to see that.
Oh, I do. At least one person does. Yeah, Neil and I'll see it.
Yeah, I thought it sounded great, honestly.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Good. I'm glad.
Did you ever read the what is it? The Ice Cream Colored Suit. It's just a little short story. It's great.
Oh yes. Yeah, one suit that a bunch of guys can't afford.
Yeah.
Suit, and so they all go in together and they buy it.
I love that one because it kind of reminded me of what you were talking about. It's optimistic, but also realistic too.
Definitely. You remind me. He wrote a bunch of stories set in Mexico, and I remember reading that same collection with Ice Cream Suit. There's one, I don't know if it's called The Fever or what it is, but
oh yeah,
there's the one I'm thinking of. There's a woman who's crying. Yeah. She's crying because her lover left her. Mm-hmm. And nobody in the apartment building can get any sleep because she keeps crying and she's just wailing and wailing and wailing and nobody can sleep. And so finally all the women get together and they say, one of us has to sacrifice and send our husband up to give her comfort. So that's what the story is about. And And they pick this guy and tell him, you have to go, you have to do this for the community. And so he goes up and the crying stops.
And so, yeah, keep us up to date, because that would be something all of us would be interested in. And I think a lot of people listening to the show would be interested in.
I will, man. And I appreciate you having me on the show, and I appreciate what you do to keep horror alive and kicking, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, we love having you on, and love to have you back sometime, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, man. Hey, if your listeners want to hit me up on Twitter, it's Bill Oberst Jr., and I think Twitter's probably my favorite platform. I really love to hear from people and, see what's going on and hear ideas from people and all over the world. It's great, so feel free.
Very cool. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Now, I actually almost always ask people where to find them, and I forgot. I'm glad you added that. It's a real pro here.
Oh, no, it's fine. Facebook is just mean political stuff now, and I put posts on it, but it's like, oh God. But I like Twitter. Twitter's cool. Which one do you like best?
I think I'm just used to Facebook, but I do understand exactly what you're saying. There is just a lot of just nonstop political posts. But I think there's a little more interaction there. It's probably because I have more people there. I probably should try to use Twitter more. I think it's also good for the show to use it more.
Yeah, I like Twitter because there's people. I hear more from people all over the world on Twitter. And it's really cool to get like a tweet from somebody in Singapore or something that it's like, wow, in Singapore, and here, it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm old enough for the technology to still be a little wonderful and fascinating.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, though. When everything that's amazing just kind of, then that's no fun anymore.
Yeah. Speaking of worldwide, I forgot. Speaking of worldwide, real quick, I did forget to mention when you brought up about a lot of horror fans in Europe. Is one of our biggest fans is Vera in Germany, and she's a loyal listener, and I want to give a shout out to her. But I know from her that horror is huge in Germany.
It is huge in Germany. I love Germany, and it's big in Czech Republic too. And I want to give a shout out to anybody who might be listening from Czech Republic. I love your country and the food. Oh my God!
Wow.
Very cool.
All right,
I always like to check out the food wherever I'm going to. Yeah. All right. Good to talk to you too. We'll talk to you again. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Debbie Rochon, and you're listening to Without Your Head.